Des membres de la centrale.
Performance project.
Making drawings on the computer.
Ce qui est bien à la centrale, c'est que tout est possible.
Making paintings, doing sculptures.
Membres de la centrale.
Performance artists. Feminist performance artists over 40 who are using the body, hiring other bodies or using their own body.
My name is Mona Sharma. Okay, I started making paintings, and then I started making sculptures, and then I had a lot of floods in my basement, so I started making drawings on the computer so they couldn't get destroyed anymore. And so now I have a practice that's a little bit of all of those things. And I started my relationship with La Centrale in 2009. And it's funny because I did my bachelor's at Concordia, and I'd never been to an artist-run center before, and then someone said, oh, apply to artist-run centers to have shows. I'm like, okay. So then at the same time that I applied to La Centrale, I applied to d'art and a few other places, and I didn't know what to send, but I made a lot of paintings, and they were funny, angry paintings that I guess were kind of like feminist kind of paintings. And then La Centrale said yes. And so I showed up to La Centrale, and I had a shoebox with a plan of where I wanted the paintings to go in the gallery. And they're like, oh, well, clearly you've been here so many times before, you put this plan together, but I had never been there before. And they didn't know. And I'm like, oh, yes, I know what this thing is. And all that. So, and then afterwards I participated in a group show with some local artists, and it was super fun to meet them. And I like La Centrale a lot because I think artists are freaks, and a lot of them are like socially inept. So to have this place where, you know, it's like their mandate to help people like us. It's like, you know, drug addicts have a rehab clinic. And this is like a government-funded program to help these socially inept freaks that have these ideas that don't want to talk about. So I like that La Centrale exists very much. I do work that's like, how do you say, socially motivated work. And yeah, like the drawings I do on computer are like made in Illustrator, so they can be blown up to any size. So I have a project coming up. It's gonna be so funny. The city of Sherbrooke, Quebec, you know. I asked the Canada Council, I'm like, because I was very angry about the Charter of Values in Quebec, and I said it's not fair that like it's like a government party is like, oh, we represent the true interests of Quebec, and we're gonna protect you against foreignness. I'm like, this is just bullshit, man. So then I wanted to put the drawings on billboards for this series. It's called Justice Takes a Holiday, and it's like funny. It's looking at examples of justice and injustice that are really weird from around the world. And so I wrote to the Canada Council. I'm like, I like the Calc a lot. They've helped me, but I'm afraid to ask them for money for this. Can you give me money? And they're like, sure. So they gave me like a lot of money to put the drawings on billboards. So this fall in the Sherbrooke, Quebec, I got like 10 billboards to put the drawings, which is funny because I think Sherbrooke only has like 12 billboards. So I don't know what they're gonna think. They're gonna wake up one day and they're gonna be like, our billboards don't make any sense. That's gonna be fun. And I'm making sculpture projects too. They're very big though, so it's a problem to show. Soft sculpture, sewn by hand. And I did a project before. It was called The Loss and Reclamation of Face, which was talking about a lot of issues that I had, because when I made work, like I'm of Indian descent, And a lot of people that I met in school, they were like, oh, you're so lucky you have this great cultural history to borrow from. I'm like, hey, you know what? We're all human beings. We all have cultural histories to borrow from. And they're like, no, I'm just white. And I'm like, go on. Like it's kind of like interesting that they call that like a neutral, like as if there's nothing there. But it's because that's what they're told all the time. They're just like, when people want to become involved in causes like against racial inequality or things like that, they're just like, oh, who are you to talk? You're just some, overprivileged like white person. Like you don't have a voice in this. And I found that so strange, like that they were told this all this life. So it's almost like it creates like people that don't want to talk. They've been told they don't have the right to talk. So the series was dealing with that. So like I took like some, examples throughout Canadian history of things that were like, or like connected to Canadian history, that were like a huge impactful things that I feel like have a human aspect to all of them, and I mixed them also with like very personal stories at the same time, like inviting the viewer, okay, and they're made like big toys, almost like sewn, colorful, soft. So they like say, okay, come and play with these histories. I'm not going to say you're not allowed to interact with it. So that was one series, and then the next series that I'm working on is twice the size of that series, and that series was too big for an artist on set. Just said, I don't know where I'm going to show it. And then so this new series is about space and how we understand space. So I'm trying to make all the spaces that were important in my life in installation of soft sculpture. And this is a microwave, but this is inside the microwave, this is what my room was like when I was growing up. These were my boots, but these are very big. This is like the size of a bed. So like trying to assemble them all, it will look something like